Hello there. So this is the first in my videos about the practical side of my book, The Druid Garden. So it starts off with history, and then it gets into how plants work, etc., etc., and then practical stuff is more towards the end. You've got stuff about trees, stuff about herbaceous plants a little bit, mostly about shrubs and trees. But one of the problems of Ireland is with our climate, a lot of herbaceous stuff doesn't do particularly well because it can be sometimes very cold in winter, which it has been recently. Behind me you can see my polytunnel, which is kind of frozen still. It's not actually heated, but some of the plants they're surviving, but only just, because it's barely above freezing. We've had temperatures like down to about -8 where I am, and some parts of the country is a lot worse than that. And in the summer, it doesn't get very hot. It's rare that it gets over 20 degrees here. So I think it has peaked at maybe 29 or 30 at one point in the past, but that's exceptional, almost never happens. Most years you're going to struggle to get over 20 degrees C. So a lot of what I concentrate on is non-herbaceous plants because the conditions aren't ideal, really. Lots and lots of rain, not that much sun, doesn't get very warm, can sometimes get very cold in winter. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about is a job that everyone hates, but which you can do in the winter time. So you can see here there's a very young hedge. This is what's commonly known as cherry laurel, or Prunus laurus cerasus, to give it its proper name. So obviously you can see they're planted far apart to allow the plants to grow to meet each other, which is generally recommended to leave gaps. And if you really want super instant results, you can plant them closer, but in the long run it's probably not a good idea. You can see where I put mulch down very quickly and it killed off the grass, but as you can see, the buttercups, ranunculus repens they're called, because they spread out underneath the ground and they come up all over the place. And also things like the dandelions, they get coming through. So that means it has to be redone, and this time of year everything is either stopped growing completely or growing at an absolute crawl, so it's a very good time to do it. So I'm going to show you a technique that will eliminate this problem long term. So here's what you need. I've got one bucket here for all the weeds. I've got a load of bark mulch here, an empty bucket which I can put mulch into, or stones, or use it for whatever. I've got a pair of scissors, I've got some cardboard and a trowel, and that's pretty much all you need for this job. So as you can see here, I have cardboard, and this is what I'm using as a mat to go underneath the bark mulch. I prefer to use really fine bark mulch, but at the moment it's quite difficult for me to get it because the local supplier is completely out of stock, so I ended up with some heavier stuff, which is fine, but the small stuff seems to compact better and doesn't blow away in the wind, which can be a problem. So you can see a section here which I've completed, and if I pull away you can see there's the cardboard underneath. So you can see the first thing I've done is I've pulled away all the mulch that I put down before. And so the next thing is to either with your hand, often with a twisting motion, to pull out the weeds, or if they're very stubborn, as is often the case with dandelions, which have a very long taproot, you get your trowel and dig it out. And once you've cleared all the weeds out, the next step is to put down the cardboard. So there we have, there's the cardboard put in. And now I'm going to put the cleaned up bark mulch back with some extra if needed. Now you might be wondering, why am I using cardboard? Well, the fact is, a lot of things these days you might struggle to get in the shop, So you end up having to buy them in a online shop. So you get boxes, and even with stuff you buy yourself, it usually comes in some kind of a box. So these can be recycled, but the truth is, huge amounts of recycling end up in the landfill, even cardboard. If they got too much of it to process, whatever excess they have that particular week will end up in a landfill instead. So I figured, well, why not make use of this? You could go out and buy membrane. Mypex is the most well-known and probably one of the best brands, but it's expensive, and this will do the same job. Cardboard is porous, it lets the water through, it lets the air through, but it will also block plants. Even the likes of docks and dandelions struggle to get through this. And then you've got your layer on top, which is also decorative, but is another added layer to prevent weeds. So, I mean, there's multiple benefits here. It helps with the soil doesn't freeze so easily once you've got a covering on it. It prevents the weeds coming through as well. And eventually this will all break down and be absorbed into the soil. So it will very, very slowly add nutrients to the soil once it's broken down. So this is a cheap alternative to using Mypex, and it's completely environmentally friendly, and it costs nothing at all apart from the cost of the mulch itself, and unless you make your own with a wood chipper, and then there's your time, and that's it really. So here you can see another area which I've used a similar technique. This is not just to create the flower bed, but to kill off the grass underneath. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not like in favour of killing all the weeds everywhere. Huge areas of this garden, probably 2/3 of it will be wilderness really, so the weeds can grow. I mean, the definition of a weed is really just a plant growing where it's not wanted. So in this particular situation, I want to put shrubs in here, and I don't want them kind of being swamped by the weeds, but the majority of the garden I will just leave the buttercups, leave the dandelions, etc. You know, even the ephemeral weeds like hairy bittercress, I'll just leave them, let them grow. But in this particular area, what I've done is use the cardboard again to kill off the weeds, and then when I'm ready I will put the bark mulch on top, and I'll cut little squares or little crosses even in the into the cardboard. This section here obviously has got plastic, which I'm going to replace with cardboard. I'll take that plastic away, put cardboard there instead, and then cut in squares, and I'll have a beautiful flower bed which won't be plagued with weeds because of the cardboard and then the mulch on top. So I mean, a lot of what I'm doing in my own garden is to save me time and labour. So this is a very cost-effective and eco-friendly way of doing this, rather than using horrible, nasty products like glyphosate, or having to sit down on or kneel down and pull all these weeds out on a regular basis. This just makes life a lot easier. Okay, that's it for now. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.